Greetings, everyone. Salutations. My name is Veronica Mirembe Benedictio. Veronica Mirembe Mukisa. Welcome to the Speak the Truth in Love channel, a channel that comes from a revelation of Ephesians chapter 4 verse 15. And today on this channel, I want to share on a particular topic. I want to give a title, Marriage and Societal Pressure. Yes, I want to share something in regard to the societal pressure and getting married in our generation that leads to so many young people into making mistakes, into regret and eternal pain, because at times we have not known certain truths about marriage and what is going on. Yes, I would love to first convey this message as I usually do. This is not a channel about a following, about likes, about comments, but it is a channel that speaks the truth in love, not out of judgment, but to help an entire generation, because at times we are going through a lot as a generation, but no one is addressing these things, and the reason of the lots of pain and suffering, because we never get people who share these truths with us. So today I want to talk about societal pressure from society and getting married. You know, we live at a time where we attend so many weddings, we attend so many functions, we're into bridal showers, we're into wedding excitement, but we realize the rate of divorce and separation is very high in our generation compared to the latter generations. We are a generation where most of us enter like marriage out of societal pressure, out of competition, out of comparisons, but we hardly understand what we are going for. And the reason I want to share certain truths about societal pressure and what is ongoing in our generation. Let me first share. We have to understand marriage does not solve loneliness. And I'll share this message in the lady's perspective because it's what applies to me, because I'm a woman, though I am addressing this message to singles. We have to know marriage does not solve loneliness, but only exposes it. A man or a woman is not the source of your happiness when you have not learned how to be happy, because true happiness comes from within and it does not come from a man, it does not come from a woman. True happiness does not come from having children, it does not come from having a ring on your finger. True happiness does not, because at times when you will have the children and they could be the source of your stress. You could have a husband, but he's the source of your stress. And it is the reason I'm here to help young single ladies, young single men. Whenever you enter a relationship out of fear of being alone, loneliness, pressure from society, desperation, it is the reason we end up being wounded and are living in lots of frustration in marriages, because we are making decisions out of societal pressure. I'll use very practical examples out of my life experience, because most of us are going through this, but most of us hardly know. These are schemes of the enemy to keep the entire generation into regret and suffering, because no one is speaking the truth. You know, society will give you all these remarks of how you're beautiful but unlucky, how no one is hitting at you. Omanyi bamanyi no tugamba olusi tudibye okiraba kyenkugamba ensi neekuteeka ku pressure, but the world is not speaking to you about what people are going through as single mothers. You know, what people are going through. Even at times the fathers are there, but ladies are going through a lot, because it is all about kuzaala baana, it is all about marriage, but the world will not tell you the truth. I like telling young people, most people enensi erinze kalyonso nakuseka, and people will not share certain truths with you. You know, the world will make you seem like a loser. The world will make you seem like there's a problem with you, but people actually never tell you what they are going through, but they are making you feel less. They are making you feel like a loser. They are making you feel like you have a problem, yet they never share the truth of what they are going through. Yet as they're battling as single mothers, as they're battling as mothers who have to take responsibility of children, because it is all about having children, it is all about giving birth, it is all about being on ARVs as long as you're with a man, because no one is sharing this truth with us as a generation. You know, let me first convey this message as a single person. Whenever you enter a relationship because of desperation, because of loneliness, because of the fear of being alone, you will end up being wounded. You know, you will end up being frustrated. You will end up being used and dumped. And then you begin saying how you have a spirit of rejection, but you are the one giving in your body because you think you are desperate, because you think time is running out. But we hardly know these are schemes of the enemy to keep people in regret and suffering. I'll first convey this message. I'm not ridiculing or slandering any single mother, you know, because at times we hardly know what people have gone through to become single mothers. But let me share with someone who has not yet made a mistake out of societal pressure. You know, at the end of the day, people will never tell you what they are going through, but they will try to make you seem how you are a loser, how you are losing out. You know, how you have a problem, how no one is hitting at you, but they actually never share the truth with you. Abachala ne bayimira efe tuli bachala bazira tulabirira abaana, but do they actually tell you the stress they go through mu buzira bwabwe obwo? Or is it God's will for us to look after our children as mothers when they have their fathers because oyagala kubeera mukyala muzira olabirira abaana? No, let me speak to young ladies out there. Because most of us are entering relationships, you find ladies are conceiving and then they are living in regret, they are living in pain because people hardly share this truth with their generation. You know, whenever you make decisions out of pressure, I am already 30, I am already 25, Sina Musajja, the world is laughing. I'm telling you, at the end of the day, people have a right to their opinions. You cannot refuse and you cannot refute, but you have a right to making your decisions and living a happy life, because when you make a decision, the world will laugh. Ense ejja kuseka, ense ejja kuba kalyonso kubanga naawe okiguddemu. Oba muwulira kye mbulira like basinga abali eyo. At the end of the day, no man is the source of your happiness. No woman is the source of your happiness. And the reason you have to learn how to be happy alone, being single is not a curse. It is a calling. You know, we have to embrace the truth that being single is not a curse, but it is a season with a calling of its own. A season of preparation, a season of self-discovery, a season of self-awareness, a season of self-love, a season of working on your character, a season of financial independence, you know, a season of working on your identity, where you know you are not going into a relationship and a man is going to be the source of your identity. You know, where you know you're not going into a relationship as a man and you're going to control a woman because of your insecurities. It is a season of working on your insecurities as a single out there. It is not a season of desperation. It is not a curse to be single, but it is a calling with its own. It's a season. It's a season with a calling of its own. Where God is preparing you, where God is molding you, where God is refining you in character, refining you in identity, refining you in knowing who you are. You know, I tell people we live in a generation where there are lots of married people, but they are so lonely because they hardly knew this truth when they were entering marriage. You know, whenever you think a man is going to solve your insecurities, a man is going to give you identity, whenever you think your worth, you know, society has made us believe, you know, that it has given us a definition of success, a definition of happiness that is so wrong. You know, because you are 38 years, you are still single, you have a problem. You know, no, I'm telling you, let everyone remain in their own lane, because happiness to one person, success to one person is not success to another. You know, let no one deceive you because you have no children, because you have no car, because you're not married, that you are a loser in life. You know, society has given us a definition of happiness that a woman who does not have a man, a woman who does not have children is a loser in the world. And yet this is so wrong, because so many have the children, so many have the men, but they are the source of their stress and unhappiness. But society is wiring us into thinking we are losers, we have a problem, tudibye kubanga tetuliko baami. No, that is so wrong. At the end of the day, I encourage young people, learn to walk in your own lane, remain in your lane. You know, at the end of the day, we all have different life purposes and calling, and the reason you should walk in your lane and be happy with who you are, and do not make decisions because of pressure, because of people's words, because you will end up living in regret. You will end up being wounded because no one is sharing these truths with you. You know, at the end of the day, I like telling young people, whenever you allow societal pressure, you are going to make mistakes that are going to make you regret. You know, now let me speak to young ladies. Our worth is not like yes, marriage is sacred. It is a blessing from God. But because you are not married and of a certain age does not make you a loser. These things of listening to things of beautiful but unlucky should never put you down, because at the end of that day, let everyone remain in their own lane and run their own race. You know, we have been wired to think omusajja alina okuteekamu ssente, omusajja alina okulabirira, and as a lady even you can't look after yourself because you think a man has to give you money for you to look good. A man has to give you a car for you to be happy. No, I tell ladies, you know, we have to know, we have to also love on ourselves before people come to love us. You know, you cannot say you don't love yourself and you expect someone to love you that way. To love you, you know. At the end of the day, when you know you have been loved by the best, you have been loved by Christ. His love is like, if you know, like you will not settle for less because you think a man is doing you a favor, because you think a man just wants to sleep with you. No. At the end of the day, I tell women, we have to know our worth. You know, toli kanyeebwa nti buli omu alina kusooka kukombako to know your worth. You are not a blood sample that you need to be tested for people to know your worth. Toli ku kiyigo nti buli omu anaabiramu to know your value. Just know your worth as a lady. Whenever you do not know your worth, men are going to use your body and run away. Men, whenever you do not know your worth, women are going to use your body and run away. At the end of the day, you have to know that the value you attach to yourself. Not out of, I'm not speaking these things out of pride, intineraga. It's out of lots of humility, you know. But whenever you do not know your worth, people are going to take advantage of you because you think they are doing you a favor. You know, whenever you do not respect yourself and carry yourself with dignity, you will become desperate that men will use your body, that women will use your body because you think you want to settle. You know, I like telling people comparisons are the greatest stealer of true joy and peace in our generation. You are comparing yourself to people, but you hardly know what people are going through. You know, you have refused to remain in your lane. We live in a generation where we are attending weddings every weekend. But the rate of divorce and separation is too high. You know, very many people enter marriage with excitement, you know, but few stay there with wisdom. You know, many of us enter marriage with excitement. I tell people, a wedding is a one-day thing. Everyone walks away and it is the two of you to begin your journey. So if what you have entered nga tochitegeera ng'okoseza excitement, kyova olaba mu myezi ebiri ebintu biba bikutamye because you hardly know what you entered in. You know, we walk in comparisons, you know, we are walking in desperation, we are walking in thinking we are late in life, then we hardly know. Our God is a God of times and seasons. Just align your will to God's will. Align your timing to God's timing. Align your desires to God's desires. Because the Bible says in Numbers 23:19, God is not a son of man to lie. It is not written anywhere because you are not married, because you do not have children, because that you are a loser in life. I'm telling you, true success is walking in purpose, what God has called you to walk in. Because we have seen people with everything, but they do not have happiness. They do not have true peace. You know, I like telling people, if we knew the people we think have it all are the unhappiest and most, like, they do not have joy because we think it is having money, it is having a no. Let us not be deceived. At the end of the day, we should stop believing what society makes us think like is happiness, is fame, is success, and remain in your own lane. Because it is not written anywhere, Rakuba sina mwana ndi loser. It is not written anywhere, because I do not have a man, I'm a loser. You know, at the end of the day, we are making decisions as young people and living in desperation and living in regret because we have allowed society to give us a definition of happiness, a definition of success, and yet this is too wrong. We hardly know what people are going through, and people put you on pressure until ochigwamu ensi nekusekerera. Netandika okuyitanga oli single mother. Nenga ensi yekuteka ku pressure. You know, we are living in a generation, I'll continue to stress this, where men are very irresponsible. And as women, we are being told, Zala buzazo omwana wo mulabirire. Is it God's will nzo omukyala okulabirira omwana gwenzadde? You know, so be very careful to the voices you are listening to. Be very careful to the people you're listening to, because it is all about giving, it is all about having children, it is all about having a man, it is all about, no, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, it is like the singer Lucky Dube well sang it in his song. You know, Kiss No Frog. Better to be alone and be happy than being with someone but unhappy all your life. It is better to be alone and be happy than being with someone and being unhappy all your life, because it is all about settling. You know, whenever you allow to be controlled by desperation, you are going to make decisions that are going to lead to eternal pain and regret because you think you have to be like everyone. You know? We miss out on the promises of God for our lives because of doubt, because of desperation, because of comparison, because of impatience. I like telling people, no one, like you can never regret because of being patient, but you will regret because of impatience. You know, at the end of the day, people will not tell you what you are going through, but they will try to show you how you are late in life, how you are a loser, how you don't have a man, how you don't have children, but they are actually not telling you what they are going through, because ensi eyagala kukozesa nsobi. You know, I like telling young people, at the end of the day, remain in your own lane. Remain in your own lane. Whatever God planned for you, as long as you are walking in truth. I like using my example. I'm 38 years. As long as I'm not using any pills, as long as sina mbuto zenzijamu, newe jireba myaka emeka ndizaala abaana, if God planned it for me. You know, it is not written anywhere that I am a loser in life because I'm not married, because I have no children, and I'm 38, and it seems like desperation. No. It is not written anywhere. I tell young people, Sarah mu Bible, muchala wa Abraham yazalira ku myaka 9. Naye Sarah teyakosanga piru teyajjangamu mbuto. Kati fenna abalindirira Mukama naye ng'oli muligiza akugjamu mbuto, ng'oli muligiza akosa piru eziyokya amagi. Togenda kubeera nga Sarah, kuba Sarah yazalira ku myaka 9, naye teyakosanga mpeke teyajjangamu mbuto. Yalinga mu mazima, si weewaawo. Kati at the end of the day, we should stop allowing this world make us feel like losers when people are not sharing what they are going through. At the end of the day, remain in your lane. You know, work on your character as a lady. I tell ladies, a beautiful face, a beautiful figure, will get you a man, but character is what keeps a man. Work on your character in this season. You know, I tell men, a six-pack, a handsome wallet will get you a woman. But working on your pride and ego is what will keep a woman. There are things we have to work on in this season of being single. You know, work on self-discovery, work on your identity. Where you'll not get married and you add weight because you have given birth, and a man will call you a pig, and then you feel bad about yourself because you as a lady you have found your identity in a man. You have not known that whether fat or not, you are still fearfully and wonderfully made. You know, women, let us work on knowing that, like working on our character, working on our temperaments. You know, they are truths we have to learn before entering the institution of marriage, instead of allowing the societal pressure and the words from people. Tuterese ebigambo by'abantu naye tetulese ekigambo kya Katonda. You know, at the end of the day, we are so desperate, and people are running into relationships out of loneliness, out of pressure, but we hardly know we are compromising our values because you want to keep a relationship. Omusajja ali awo azanyira ku mubiri gwo, woli mukozesa empeke, woli mukozesa bipiiru, omutuufu aligenda okujja ng'omubiri wagwonoona because you are into desperacy. You have allowed a man play on your body, and when the right man who wants to marry you comes, conceiving becomes a problem, and you begin saying how they bewitched you, but you spoiled your body because you were using pills. You know, I have been talking to doctors lately, and they are saying very many young ladies are battling infertility because from the age group of 25 to 30, because young girls are using pills at a very early age. And that is why when you get married, you fail to conceive, or you're battling infertility because you are spoiling your body through using pills. You know? I'm speaking to that generation. Be very careful as we are doing certain things. Oliawo jamu mbuto oganya okuzaala. Oliawo, I'm telling you, a man is wasting your time and they are using your body, and then they will go and marry someone else. Yamuzaalira abaana nenga gwaliawo akosezza omubiri go. Young men are into things like masturbation, and there is a lot of erectile dysfunction among so many young men. You know, they can hardly make women pregnant. It is because we are walking in dirty habits that are not God glorifying, and it is why the entire generation is so down, is so low, because no one is addressing these things, you know. And it is why I'm telling young people, at the end of the day, do not allow the world make you think you have a problem because you are of a certain age and you're not married. I tell people I'm 38 years and I'm very proud even of speaking my age, because at the end of the day, my worth or my success is not in having children, is not in being married. Yes, let the world talk. I may be beautiful but unlucky, but I have my peace. I'm not stressed. You know? At the end of the day, we have allowed the world to give us a definition of happiness, a definition of success, a definition of fame, yet people are not sharing what they are going through with all their happiness, with all their success, and with all their fame. You know, it is why I'm speaking to the singles. You know, learn to have a life. Do not be married, do not be lied that when you get married is when you will be happy. That when you have children is when you will be happy. Because you will have that child, and even you reach a point where they are too clingy on you and they are disturbing you and you have no peace. You will have that man where he's the source of all your stress because you never got to know that your happiness comes from within, but you thought that happiness comes from a man. Tuleme kulimbibwa. At the end of the day, the world makes us seem like losers, but people are not sharing what they are not sharing with us what they are going through. You know? Let me emphasize, no woman is the source of your happiness when you've not learned to be happy alone. And marriage does not solve loneliness. It only exposes it. It only exposes loneliness. I'm telling you, whenever you settle because you think someone is the source of your happiness, you're going to be wounded. No one can heal your frustration. No one can heal your wounds when you have not healed on your own. And it is the reason we should work on our identity. Self-discovery and self-awareness are key in this journey of singlehood. Because at the end of the day, you can also look good as a woman. You can look after yourself. No man is supposed to be mbono yampa sente. No, you also have work. You're working. Why do you think a man is supposed to make you happy? No, let me emphasize as I'm finishing this audio. Marriage is sacred and a blessing, but it is not what determines your success or happiness in life. Because at the end of the day, if God planned it for you, it will be there. And no one can ever throw out the plan of God for our lives. If it is God's will for us we shall be married. But do not allow this world make you feel like a problem or a loser because you are not married and you're of a certain age and the world is talking, and then you make decisions out of pressure that only leads to regret and pain because you did not know certain truths. It is why I encourage young people, remain in your own lane. Avoid comparisons. At the end of the day, remain in your own lane. We all have different callings, life assignments, and purposes, and the reason you should remain in your own lane. Maybe God knew someone would get married at 25, start a family, and God knew I would get married at 38, at 40, and that is when my journey would begin. Because at the end, tebagabayo birabo. Oba nzadde ku myaka 4, oba nzadde ku myaka 3 mwemeka, at the end of the day bonna baba baana. Because I have seen people who get married at 25 and by 30 bintu bibatami. But I may get married at 30 at 40 and go with my soulmate and spend the entire life with him because chenyingidde munchitegeera. No, I tell people if I had gotten married at 25 or 23, which was my desire, I would be out by now. But I know I'm in a zone of preparation where God is doing a work in me, and whatever He planned for me, as long as I'm aligned in truth, in righteousness and holiness, it will locate me in the right time. Not in my time. So the world should stop making us feel like we have a problem or we are losers because we are not married, we do not have children, there is a problem with us, and yet people are not telling you what they are going through. Have it in mind. At the end of the day, it is not all about a wedding, but it is marriage. A wedding is a one-day thing, everyone will walk away, but marriage is a journey. It is a journey of patience, a journey of endurance, a journey of bearing each other's weaknesses. So if you have not learned certain truths about these things, it is why you're going to make mistakes, because it is all about a wedding and everyone will walk away and you will start your journey because you have not known certain truths. So let me speak to a single lady, a single man out there. Be very mindful of the societal pressure that we have as a generation that is making people make mistakes, that is making people live in regret, because we think it is all about settling, it is all about having children, it is all about getting married, but people hardly share the truths with you of what they are going through because tewali atubulira mazima. Thank you very much for listening to me. This is a channel called Speak the Truth in Love by Miss Veronica Mirembe Benedictio. I embody and walk my talk by the grace of God, and it was said, if you stand for the truth, you will always stand alone. Mwebale nnyo okumpuliriza, Mukama abawe omukisa. Veronica Mirembe Mukisa.